Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first week of events for USA Gap Year Fair's first ever virtual campaign. We are so excited to be hosting you today and sharing some information about gap years. I'm just going to go ahead and give everybody a few seconds as we wait for any latecomers. Watching that number creep up there. Thank you all for tuning in on this Tuesday evening. All right, while we have people trickling in, I am going to go ahead and give you guys a poll so we can get an idea of who is with us here today. So you'll see those questions pop up on your screen. Please go ahead and take a moment. All right, thank you to those of you who are answering. I'll give it another couple seconds. All right, lots of high school students here today. Equal amount of parents and educators. Give that just another couple seconds. All right, so it does look like we have a fair amount represented here. Thank you all for being with us. Obviously, the session topic is how to earn college credit, so you should be getting plenty of information on that today. All right, so let's get started. My name is Jessica Beatty. I'm the community manager for Go Overseas and also an event coordinator for USA Gap Year Fairs. For the past 14 years, USA Gap Year Fairs has partnered with progressive high schools all across the country to educate, inspire, and empower students to look beyond the classroom and pursue opportunities for experiential learning. Now that we're adapting to changing times, we've redesigned our in-person events to provide our community with inspiration and guidance. So a little bit about Go Overseas. You can think of us like Yelp, but for meaningful travel experiences. Although we don't operate any overseas programs ourselves, we're a resource for planning many different types of international education, including high school abroad, study abroad, intern, volunteer work, and teach abroad opportunities in addition to gap years. You can browse programs, read verified alumni reviews, and explore other resources such as articles, guides, and scholarships. If you're interested today to take the leap and start planning your gap year, this is a great place to do your research and find your best fit program. We'll be sharing a few links with you guys throughout the session today. On to the next slide. Thank you. We also are a resource for scholarships for education abroad. We're announcing over $15,000 in gap year scholarships next year, and we'll be opening those applications on February 1st to kick off Gap Year Exploration Month. So if you are serious about taking gap time in 2021, I would recommend signing up on the USA Gap Year Fair's landing page. I will drop that link in the chat right now. So there is a little lead form at the bottom of this page, and if any of you guys would like to sign up to receive updates when that scholarship does open, please feel free to enter your information there. All right, so we have an amazing panel lined up for you today. We have Holly Bull from the Center for Interim Programs. We've got Kimberly Nidek from C Semester, and then we also have Lainey Pistone from Verto Education. So super excited to have them all here today and to talk to you about this topic of how to earn college credit during your gap time. We're going to go through our panel, hear a little bit from Holly about the topics of gap years in general. She is an expert, so you all are super lucky to hear from her today. And then we'll hear a little bit about each of the programs that we have represented. After that, we'll have 10 to 15 minutes to answer questions. So if you do have questions at any point during the webinar today, take a look at the Q&A box at the bottom there, and you can submit questions at any time up to the Q&A portion. So please feel free to get those in whenever you're ready. And without further ado, I'll pass this off to Holly to get us started.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for your interest in this topic and the gap year topic in general. And again, heartfelt thanks to Go Overseas for creating the virtual fairs this year. Normally they're on site, and they've done an amazing job pulling this together for this season of fairs. So I'm Holly Bull. I am the president of the Center for Interim Programs, and we are the first independent gap year counseling organization of our kind in the United States. I'm here in Princeton, New Jersey. We work with students across the US and internationally. And we've been doing this for longer than anyone. Nobody was talking gap year in the 1980s when my father started this company, so he was a real pioneer in the field. Since 1980, we've worked with probably over 8,000 students, in the 40 years that we've been doing this. Most of them are students, and then some are older adults. We work with all ages, actually. I'm speaking from a double bias here because I took 2 gap years myself, one before college, one after my sophomore year in college. And then I've been counseling people now for over 30 years. All I do is gap year counseling. So day in and day out, I'm working with students, helping them, sort of midwifing them through this process. And I've been speaking at these fairs since they began in 2008 or 2007, 2008. So a long time that they've been running throughout the United States. I'm also a Gap Year Association accredited counselor, and along with my co-counselor, Kate Warren. And so we have professional accreditation. We have definitely a lot of experience in this field as we work with families. Part of our mission is just to educate people about the gap year. So we offer a free brainstorming session to anyone who's interested, which really goes into more detail about how the year works and what to watch out for or not. No obligation to work with us. It's just a way to gather more information. Now, a little background on the gap year. So the who, what, and why. Really, the gap year is for anyone who's interested. You know, it's all ages, but mostly students who can easily take this kind of time, or more easily than older adults. And in terms of, no, sorry, go back one. I'm still on the other slide. Yeah, thanks. So in terms of the what, this is time that's ideally intentionally taken. So it's not just, oh, I'm taking some time off. You really ideally are thinking about what you might want to get at. And typically it's for 3 to 9 months. It really should be called gap time because you don't have to take a year, although it's called the gap year. And this is not a year off or time off. You know, I always tell people, no, this is time on. You know, this is a year, a year very much on, because you are very much on as you step into things that are really different from what you've done before. And there are many benefits. You know, why do this? The only reason I've ever heard anybody give me not to do it is if you're not interested. You have to be up for it. If somebody's interested, you have tremendous benefits to taking gap time. Because students are ideally choosing something that they want to do. They have these carrots out in front of them, not stuff that they have to do, which is more sort of the schooling process. They're much more self-motivated. So you have a year where you're practicing how to become motivated and proactive in your life. It's also a great time to rest and offload stress. A lot of students by senior year are fairly fried or just tired of the onerous aspects of schooling. And so gap time really allows you to just unwind, and you're probably doing things that are, not gonna have as much pressure on you, and more single-pointed focus, so there's sort of not as much coming at you. And you could be terrible at something, who cares? You're not normally being graded, or if you are with a credited program, it's gonna be different than traditional schooling, a schooling experience. Another great benefit is the relevance of all your studies to the world. And I think that's a missing piece often in school. By senior year, I certainly felt this sense of, how does all this stuff I'm cramming into my head relate to the world around me? And how is it integrated? So you're really making that connection with your learning to the world. And then for many students are learning how to budget. So financial awareness, and parents can help with that. Here's your budget for your year. You're really starting to focus more on how much things cost. You're away from home, groceries, whatever. And that's an important skill. And speaking of skills, you're garnering skills during gap time that are probably going to be more useful for you than many of your college classes, or like formal traditional learning, as you enter the work world post-college. And in a sense, you're building a resume before you hit college. Some of these things that you get at during your gap time can give you a better sense if you're heading on to college of what you want to major in, or maybe what work you want to do in the world or not. Part of my gap year, I was in Hawaii doing aquaculture research. That's a picture there of me with a 8-foot squid, one of the scientists. That was really helpful for me to do 4 months in Hawaii, this internship that made me realize, okay, I don't want to be a marine biologist. Obviously, I'm not doing it. And for many people, if they don't have that clarity, they're taking more time changing majors and changing careers and spending more college tuition as they try and figure out where their passions are through more classes. Also, as you transition from college into the work world, it's easier to get jobs. You've had this sort of half step out into the world, through your gap time that's giving you a lot of those skills. So it makes it less daunting as you face that transition into the working world, the career world. And the other reason I always like to throw at parents is, it often gets harder to do this as you get older. Typically parents want to go, but they can't because they're tied down. And so, take the time when you can take the time, when you're not tied to much. Your teens and 20s, you really aren't tied to much. So it's a great time to go. And it's not goof off time. This could be some of the most important time you take in your life in terms of pivoting you toward things you want to get at or not. Now, my gap year is related to today's topic because the second part of my year, which is the picture underneath the squid, is me on a program in Greece, which was an academic cultural study program for almost 4 months with peers. I didn't get credit for it. I would have loved to have gotten credit because I was doing college level work for sure. And so this takes us into the whole idea of earning academic credit during your gap time. I mean, there's some really nice benefits if you can do this. I mentioned the hands-on learning versus the traditional classroom learning. So students tend to be more engaged when the material is more relevant, where there's more of a hands-on component. It also can potentially reduce the credit requirements, when you step into college, which is a nice benefit. And for some students, they can, and families, they can use their college money, the college plans, so 529 plan, for example, to pay for an academic gap year program. Even if you can't get the credit, you can use the money to cover the cost of that kind of a program. You definitely want to do your transfer credit research. Some things to be aware of, that most colleges will offer you a deferred year, a deferred admission, and to take a gap year, but they're often stimulating that a student can't attend any other academic institution or garner credit during that gap time. Now, the preference is that students come in as freshmen rather than being considered a transfer student, where then you sort of lose freshman housing and support. The good thing is that these transfer credit requirements really vary college by college. And there are a number of colleges that will allow the transfer credit. So you have to do your due diligence in a sense, and check each college, or if you've got a college you're deferring from, you're going to go there, just make sure you check to see what their policy is around the transfer credits. And you also want to check each gap year program's accredited college to make sure that that institution's credit is acceptable for your college that you're attending. Just on a side note, even if you can't get transfer credit, some students are able to place out of college language requirements on a gap year if they pick up enough fluency. It's not directly related to the academic credit, but it's sometimes people don't think about that. It's often a nice benefit of gap time. Now, the Gap Year Association is a really nice resource, and they've got a partnership with Portland State University. So their accredited programs can often run their program through Portland State's credit granting option, and it's worth looking into that. The Gap Year Association also lists colleges that support the Gap Year option. That's not all of them, but it just starts to give you a nice sense of what's available. Okay, thank you all. I'm going to pass the baton on to Kimberly at the C semester program, and look forward to any questions you have.
Thank you, Holly. My name is Kimberly. I work for C Education Association and C semester. We have just a little bit of background about our organization. We've been taking students to C since 1971, and we offer summer high school programs, academic gap year programs, academic and summer undergraduate level programs. So since 1971, we've been taking students to see, as I mentioned, aboard one of our 134-foot tall ships. We currently have 2 ships, one in the Atlantic Ocean, one in the Pacific Ocean. Our ships are U.S. Coast Guard inspected and certified. Our organization is based in the world-renowned oceanographic research community of Woods Hole on Cape Cod in southeastern Massachusetts. We're one of 6 different research institutions within that community. We all primarily focus on the ocean and climate change. And over the course of our nearly 50-year history, we have taken more than 10,000 students to sea aboard programs. So our credit-bearing GAP program, dedicated GAP program, is a program called Ocean Exploration. We do have a couple of other undergraduate level programs that GAP students are eligible to apply for, but Ocean Exploration is our dedicated GAP program. It's a 12-week, 17 semester hour credit program. Students upon successful completion are awarded their credits from our school of record, which is Boston University. The program is really an interdisciplinary program looking at the ocean through the lens of both the natural and social sciences in order to teach students about the ocean environment. So students are enrolled in 5 courses over the course of the 12-week program. There's an Intro to Oceanography course, a course in Maritime Studies, which is a humanities and social science course, a nautical science course, and then 2 oceanographic research courses. During their time with us, all of our programs start on our shore campus in Woods Hole, which is about an hour and a half south of Boston. During the time there, students are living on our campus in one of our 5 fully furnished cottages, and living and learning and taking classes with the students that they would be going to sea with. There are generally 3 core faculty members who teach the program, a PhD oceanographer, a maritime historian, and then a nautical science faculty member who is a U.S. Coast Guard licensed master mariner. During the time in Woods Hole, those 6 weeks, students work with their faculty in addition to taking those classes that I mentioned to develop research projects. Oceanographic research projects that they will collect data for, do data analysis on during the sea component. Students also have the opportunity, of course, to explore the local area, learn about the other research communities, research organizations within the Woods Hole community as well. During the 6-week sea component and for our fall 2021 ocean exploration program, that a sea component sails from Woods Hole down to St. Croix in the US Virgin Islands. Students are full active crew members on board. Our programs are generally between 18 and 24 students and between 10 and 14 professional crew members and faculty. The C component really allows students to apply practically what they have just learned in the classroom during the shore component of the program. Students at sea are full active crew members, so participating fully in really all areas of shipboard operations, standing watch in and around the clock schedule, on deck, in the lab, assisting with navigation, engineering, spending some time in the ship's galley. The shipboard environment really fosters learning communities that allow students to develop teamwork, decision-making, problem-solving skills while they assume increasing levels of responsibility and, of course, earn academic credit. During the time at sea, there's a phased leadership approach over the course of the time that students spend at sea that allows students to gradually assume the majority of shipboard responsibilities under the watchful eye of the professional crew. And students step off the ship with self-confidence, lifelong friends, a toolbox of skills and knowledge, and really a sense of direction that serves them far beyond the voyage. You can hop to the next slide. So just a quote from a recent GAP student who joined us for our ocean exploration program. From an academic standpoint, SEA provided me with the great introduction to college academics and helped me find my groove into college life. There are moments that I experience daily in class at my home institution where I think to myself, I wouldn't have known how to do this if it were not for C semester. So just a little bit kind of about what our alumni have to say about sort of the value of their experience. That from an alumni survey from a couple of years ago, 74% of our alumni say that their C semester experience influenced their career path. 92% say that they gained skills that they use in their career today. 98% cited personal growth as one of the benefits of their C semester experience. And 81% say that their C semester experience helped them get their first job. So we work with students from schools all over the country and some international students. We operate on a rolling admissions basis and try to keep our application process as straightforward as possible. We offer both need and merit-based aid for programs as well. And I think that is all of the information that I have to share, so I'll pass it along.
Awesome. That is a really wonderful quote. I love that a lot. Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for having me. So my name is Lainey. I'm one of the senior associate directors of admissions at Verto Education. So Verto, we are kind of this like this in between of traditional colleges and gap year. Some counselors refer to us as the gap year without the gap, which I think has a very nice ring to it. But I won't spread that around personally. So what Verto is in a nutshell, we are offering a travel-based first semester or first year of college. So we're giving students the opportunity to explore the world, consider their path forward on that gap year track, while simultaneously earning their transferable college credit. So keeping students on a 4-year graduation timeline or a 2-year graduation timeline, or even just being a taste of college for those students who aren't quite sure if they want to jump straight into a college. So our focus is definitely like helping students to accelerate maturity and emotional awareness, like I think a lot of GAP programs are, but it's kind of this nice in between for students who want to get that GAP experience, but don't really want to miss out on starting college as well. So we are definitely an in between, definitely a niche crowd there. So the college credit aspect, every student has the choice to do just that first semester of college or that first year with us. So they can do 1 semester or 2 semesters, making it a full year. They're earning 16 credits per semester. So if they do a full year, they're earning 32 credits. Those credits are those freshman gen eds and electives. So it's really as transferable as possible. We're giving letter grades. We're not doing like pass and fail or anything like that. The one cool thing about Verto is that we do partner with universities across the states and internationally. So currently we are at 51 partner schools. That list is constantly growing. 4 of those are international, but most of them are here in the States. So what that means is when students are applying to Verto for their first semester of college, they can simultaneously apply to any of our partner colleges. Our application is free. It's non-binding. We also have a rolling admissions, and that means that the application to those partner schools are also free, non-binding and rolling admissions. So it's definitely helpful. Like we don't want to be another point of stress for students, especially in this whole senior year. Can be a lot going on. So we want to keep it really easy so students can apply to Verto. We can work with them throughout their college process. when they're finishing up senior year, and they can just keep us in their back pocket. We do have a lot of college counseling support. We have a college counselor on staff. We have a whole student success team just working to make sure this is the best fit for our students, personally, academically, financially. But while on our semesters, we do focus on experiential learning. We have 2 different types of semesters, which I'll go into on the next slide. But for all of them, it's very non-traditional. So we're really trying to bring that cultural immersion into these semesters. So students are getting that gap year experience on the academic platform. So when they're learning about global health or cultural geography or environmental science or international development, they're doing things outside of the classroom that's tying into all of those, whether that's doing faculty-led study tours or working with NGOs in these countries to get that hands-on experience. They're doing all of these to really tie that into what they're learning in the classroom. We do have a life skills and a college readiness curriculum that's weaved into our semesters as well. So that's looking at everything from how to manage your time, how to study for tests, what do student loans and credit cards look like, how to manage your money, to how to have difficult discussions, or how to make boundaries, or what does a healthy relationship look like. So we're really helping students to post Verto land on their feet, like ready to hit the ground running, no matter where they're going after Verto, whether that's college, whether that's traveling around some more, whether that's, taking some time for themselves or working or whatever that is. They've got this awesome sense of, being a global citizen and having that understanding of other cultures and broadening their eyes and their horizons, and having all that confidence and adaptability that comes along with that as well. The affordability is, I think, a pretty awesome part. We do accept FAFSA. We have scholarships as well as opportunity grants. So our scholarships are character and merit-based, and our opportunity grants are need-based. You could go to the next slide. Awesome. So these are, I'll finish up quickly. These are our 2 different types of semesters. We have 6 total. Field semesters are more that gap year feel. It's a block schedule. They're traveling around every month to a different home base. We're doing homestays with families. And then the campus semesters are a little more traditionally structured. So they're in big international cities. They're staying in a student residence no matter where they are. They're with our Verto professors. They're with our program leaders. They're with their Verto cohort, and they're earning 16 credits and getting that same experiential education. I think I'm at my time.
All right. Thank you so much, Lainey. You were right on schedule, so I appreciate that. Also, I know that there's a few questions, or there's at least one question for you directly in the chat. So if you want to go ahead and answer that, I'm sure that everyone will benefit from that, which is actually a perfect transition to our Q&A session. So we've been receiving some great questions coming through the Q&A box. I will remind anybody who hasn't yet, if you do have a question pending, please feel free to submit that through the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen at any point, and hopefully we will be able to get to that in our discussion today. So I'm going to go ahead and post some questions to our panelists. We have a great few general questions that we're going to start with, and then if we have time, we'll get to some of those more specific questions. So one of the first questions that we had, really simple one: do students have to be graduated from high school before they can go on a gap year? Maybe if you guys want to answer the specifics for your programs, and then Holly, you can give more of a general overview.
Sure. I'll go first. So students do have to have completed high school in order to be eligible for our credit-bearing GAP program.
Thank you.
Yeah, same with Verto. They have to have a high school diploma or a GED.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there may be some that will take students if they don't have a high school degree or the GED, the general equivalency degree. It can get a little harder just because the liability of students are younger. So, like 16, most gap year programs you need to be 17, although some will take you at 16. So there definitely are programs that you can do without a high school degree, or you can do when you're younger. You just have to pinpoint them. And we definitely work with some younger students. There's not as wide an array, but it's still possible.
I know that Go Overseas has a great listing of high school abroad programs as well, and I will drop that link in the chat in just a moment. All right, so next question, kind of a general one. Does getting credits from a specific school through the gap year program mean that it would be best to go to that school? Can you go to others with that credit? Is it eligible to apply elsewhere? Maybe again, Holly, can you answer?
Yeah, I can. I think I also missed the other question. You were talking about, can you do this in high school and complete high school on a gap year? Or through gap time? Or doing programs not for credit? So can a high school student step away from high school and do a placement without a high school degree? Or, because I just talked to a family today and the student was trying to do a junior semester abroad program. That you were talking about gap programs, right?
Yeah, I think the question was asking if they could do a gap year during high school. So
Take a break. Okay, got it.
Yep.
And the other question about, I think it's college by college. I mean, there are a number of colleges that will accept transfer credit from like Portland State University or Boston or the other ones that people run their credit through. I know there was a nice environmental program that had credit through San Francisco State University. So you just need to check your college to see, how sticky they are about that or not. I mean, there are a lot of study abroad programs that people attend that aren't with the college they attend, so they still offer the credit.
Absolutely. All right, this is one that, again, maybe it would be great if Kimberly and Lainey could both answer first, and then Holly, if you want to provide, again, kind of a general overview. How has COVID hindered certain programs from taking place?
I'll talk about our C semester programs. So we've been a little bit impacted by COVID in that we're running at a reduced capacity right now, just in order to accomplish some of the sort of COVID response and mitigation things that we need to do in order to run programs. So we have a sort of long document that outlines our COVID risk and mitigation plans. It includes students being upon arrival to our program for short components for the first 14 days of the program, being housed in single rooms. So we are running at a reduced capacity and not currently doing any port stops. Basically, we're using the short component of our programs right now to develop a known COVID-free bubble of students and faculty who then get on board the ship and merge with a professional crew bubble who have been similarly isolating themselves and been tested at various points throughout the couple of weeks before students join. So we have been impacted, but are running programs.
Yeah, we were impacted definitely this year. Our current students are on a Verto semester that is virtual because we did feel it best to not send students abroad this fall. So we are planning to run our spring semesters that begin in February. And we do have a scenario plan up on our website for the spring, and that will roll over to the fall. And essentially that's looking at like plan A is everything can run as we hope to all of our different locations. Plan B is we might not be able to run to a few locations, which is what it's looking like this spring. And therefore we're going to condense into the locations that we do offer. We do have a semester in Hawaii, which is great to have that domestic option. And then plan C in the fall of next fall, 2021, if worst case scenario, we're not able to send our students abroad immediately. Starting in September, we would start off with a hybrid semester virtually and then transition to travel. We do feel really confident that our semesters will run as planned next fall, just with the vaccines on the horizon and everything. But we have biweekly safety open houses for any families who are interested in getting more information about what we're doing safety-wise. And we have a page up on our website as well.
Yeah.
Great. I'm actually going to go ahead and plug one of the other sessions that we have coming up this week as well. On Thursday, we have Gapping During COVID, Risk Management and Health and Safety session just like this one coming up with a few programs providing their insight and another gap year counselor giving his expert opinion. So I'm dropping the link to register for that in the chat right now, and we'd love to see you there. Holly, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And what's been really interesting about this year, for us is that we didn't know how it was going to be. I mean, we had students had to come back early from last year in March, but they had most of their gap year experience under their belt. This fall, what's been gratifying is that, most of our over 160 students are out in the field on programs. They're on group programs. Hawaii, mainland US, Israel, Ireland, Italy, Costa Rica, Iceland are some of the locations. So they've been international and domestic. And because gap year programs are small, it's easier to monitor the health and safety of the group, especially with the group programs. So it's actually been incredibly successful, and students, even if they don't have as wide an array of options, they're not sitting in front of a computer screen trying to do, freshman college classes this fall. And they're really grateful that they haven't had to do that. I don't think we're going to be facing quite the same scenario next fall. Even if we are, it's still possible to do an array of things that are hands-on. And that's very reassuring.
Great. Thank you so much, Holly. Speaking of the international traveling, that's a great lead into one of the next questions we have. This question is specifically for Lainey. We have an attendee asking, does Verto Education always involve traveling around the world? And if it does, then how can you afford the travel? So maybe you can give some more enlightenment into the financial aid that's offered.
Yeah. So Verto does always travel around the world. So we don't actually have like a campus in the States. All of our semesters are in other countries, whether that's being on a campus semester in London or being in the field in Australia. So with the tuition, our tuition does vary depending on the location. So it ranges between 25 and 15,000 a semester. So if you're looking at Verto as that college option, that is oftentimes a lot more affordable than a traditional college semester. It can be pretty affordable just on the travel scale as well. That being said, so our tuition covers those 16 college credits. It covers the lodging, the food, all of the excursions that we're doing in the countries, that's covered. The biggest non-included cost would be the flight to that country and then the flights back home. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. As I mentioned briefly, we do accept FAFSA. So any federal financial aid, loans or grants that you receive from FAFSA can be applied to Verto. We do also have scholarships totaling up to $5,000. And there are a lot of outside scholarships as well. And then we have an opportunity grant based on household income. So that's for our Hawaii and Latin America semester. And the students can be awarded between or either $5,000 or $10,000 per semester for those. So a lot of options for students. And that's definitely important for us, is to just meet you where you are when you're planning this and see how we can make this a good fit for you.
All right, fantastic. And just a quick reminder that Go Overseas also offers scholarships. So we will be offering 2 scholarships next year, one $10,000 prize and one second prize of $5,000 that can be applied to any of our participating gap year programs. Both C Semester and Verto are part of that, as is interim programming. So any of the programs that you've seen represented here tonight will apply to that. And we totally encourage all of our attendees here today to apply. Thank you, Lainey. The next question is for Kimberly. I have an attendee asking, do C credits transfer to most schools, or do most gap year programs credits transfer?
So Boston University is our school of record. So students who participate in our programs get a BU transcript for this semester. BU credits are pretty widely accepted, but you definitely want to check at the school that you'll be going, because some schools have rules about pre-matriculation credits, as Holly mentioned earlier on. So yes and no, I would say is the answer to that. You have to do a little bit of checking based on the school that you'll be going to, their rules about deferment.
All right, great. So we are getting close to the end of time here, so maybe we'll just do a little rapid fire here, kind of run through. Holly, can you answer this question? We have an attendee asking, do students in general have to have a high GPA to participate in these types of programs?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it can vary by program, but generally you don't, so that you can engage. And I think a lot of gap year programs realize there are a lot of different kinds of learners. So they really want to help those students step into their program and engage in a different way. So Yeah, I think, Kimberly and Lane could probably respond to that more specifically.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Lainey, I think you were the one who used this term. We have somebody asking what rolling admissions means, if you want to clarify that.
Oh, yeah. So rolling admissions, so what that means is we are accepting applications up until like a month or two before our programs actually take off. So we don't have like hard and fast deadlines of you must apply to be accepted by this date. So it's just kind of like an open-ended admissions.
Great, thank you. Maybe Kimberly, you can take this one. We have somebody asking, is there any, oops, sorry, wrong question. What kind of things do people do when you say that they do things in the field? What are some of the field expeditions?
So for our programs, students spend about 6 weeks out in the field, certainly, and do different things during port stops if their program includes port stops. So the ocean being our field, doing oceanographic research, and then during port stops, in sort of that location, doing different things, meeting with community members, going to visiting local conservation areas. So learning from people within that community and spending time out in that environment to learn about environmental challenges that those places face.
Great, thank you. We'll say last general question here for Lainey. How old can you attend the Verto Education program?
Yay. Yeah, we accept students 17 to 22. A couple of our locations, or I think just one of our locations in Europe, I want to say Italy. I should know this off the top of my head. You do have to be 18 to go. So, but I don't, yeah. Anyway, 17 to 22, we'll take you.
Great, thank you so much.
Is that a parent who asked that question?
I mean, I definitely would love to participate in Verto myself, so I can't blame anybody who wants to do so. I do see that we have one more question here that I can answer myself. So it's asking about gap year programs involving different internship opportunities or jobs. We actually, again, have an entire session dedicated to that. That takes place tomorrow. Yep, Holly will be there moderating that session as well. So I've just dropped the link in the chat. Anybody who's interested in gap year programs for internships, job, work experience, work exchange, anything like that, do feel free to go ahead and join us again tomorrow. So thank you all very much for being here. We're just going to pull the presentation up again. Look, we're seeing a black screen. Great, there we go. Thanks so much. Okay, so I know that somebody was asking for that contact information again, so do feel free to go ahead and screenshot that. If you've opted in to receive updates, you will be hearing from us again and from today's participants, but if you would like to reach out individually, do feel free to do so with the information provided there. You can go on to the next slide. We've also compiled some gap year resources for you. We have online resources. Again, Go Overseas is a great resource. So if you do want to read articles, browse programs, read reviews, we're a great place to sort of help you find your best fit program. And of course, keep an eye on us for scholarship updates as well. Next slide. Finally, I have been shamelessly plugging some of these upcoming events that we have later this week. We have put a lot of work into providing these resources for you all for free. We have a lot of other great panelists and counselors featured this week as well. So I've just dropped that link in the chat. And if you would like to join us again, curious about exploring more options, please do come by. We'd love to see you again this week. So thank you so much to all of our fantastic panelists. Thank you, Holly, Kimberly, and Lainey. Love to see you here today. And thank you to all of you attendees as well for being with us. We hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, everybody.